1 year ago today, we were leaving for Israel. So I'm sorry that this is 1 year later. But so many pictures to put together. It was just overwhelming. When I got the opportunity to go, I had always wanted to go to Israel, to the Holy Land, and I signed up to go. And then our trip got canceled because COVID broke out. And so it was going to go in January, and they're trying to get the bishop's schedule, but he couldn't go, so we went in March, and only 10 people went on this. And I am so glad that it was only 10, because it was doable. We didn't have to wait on people. We had one small bus, and we all just clicked. There were 5 different churches with the 10 people that went. And Michael here is from Holy Communion, and he was part of the trip. And it was just wonderful. So here is a glimpse, just a glimpse of what we saw when we were there. So here we are at the airport in St. Louis, ready to leave. There was Father Todd right in the front. He was our leader. He was the priest at Grace Church in Kirkwood, and he plans all these trips. And he has been to Israel about 8 times at this time. And he's planning the other one for November this year. And then there is John and Mike and Chris and Mike and Sherry and Joan, Tom, Sandy, and Betty. So after much delays, we flew from here to New Jersey, and the plane, I don't know what happened, but we were like 3 hours later, we left. We finally got into Galilee late that night, the next day, Monday. And this was our home there for 4 days.
That's really pretty.
It's a Benedictine, a German Benedictine.
Yes, Pillar House.
Yes, and it was really nice. And next morning, sunrise on the Sea of Galilee. And I was taken from the hotel because we were right on the Sea of Galilee. Oh, you know what I forgot to bring? Okay. So what I have done is put my pictures for what was most meaningful to me. And I've done it in the birth of Jesus, his ministry on earth, and then his death and resurrection. So these pictures here are all about his birth. This is the Basilica of the Annunciation in Nazareth. And it is the largest church in Nazareth and is alleged to be built over the home of Mary, where she received the news from the angel Gabriel that she was chosen to be the mother of our Savior. It's a huge church. Come on, Tim. And this is the entry door. And you will notice that there are pictures on the door, and it's key moments in Jesus's life that they're put on the door.
Are those in wrought iron? What are they? Is that metal of some kind or wood?
I think it's metal.
It's metal.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah, it looks like it.
Yeah. Did you not see that?
It was a very long time ago, and actually the Annunciation, the Church of the Annunciation was otherwise, we ended up in another little church in Nazareth in
Okay.
front of a dig. But
I've lost my place.
there.
Okay, there it is. And then inside, there's this picture here. Every church is very ornate. I mean, there's murals all over depicting of that moment. Do you remember? This was just inside the church. And here's a picture of the angel visiting Mary with the news.
That's an icon as opposed to a painting.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. You had all of that.
No, you went here. When we went to
Mhm.
Enkaram, I had trouble the first day The second day we were there in walking up a hill, I just couldn't catch my breath. I was breathing so it slowed me down a lot, and that has never happened. And I realized that it's higher up there in that part of the world than it is here. And it was cold because it was the coldest March they've had for a long time. And so I had problems breathing. And when we went to this place, beginning, the guide said, Betty, we have to walk up around 100 steps to get up here. And I chose to stay in the van. And when they came back, they said it was more than 100 steps. But this was where Mary went to visit Elizabeth when she was pregnant. And then here shows the Magnificat, because they went to this place where she sang the Magnificat. And it's written in many different languages in that courtyard there.
And that hill, you do not want to walk up that hill. We walked up, we got 3/4 of the way, and everybody had to stop and catch our breath.
Wow.
It's humongous. It really is.
So, before I went, people always told me there's a lot of walking. But what they did not say is that you're going up, and down, down, down.
I think we forgot that part.
You always hear there's a lot of walking, but let me tell you, and I'll be very honest with people, you're going up hills and you're going down hills.
Even in Jerusalem itself.
Yes.
It's constantly
There is
going
nothing-
up and down and around and
Oh my
again.
gosh. Anyway.
At a certain age, you just don't want to do it.
what
I'm
I'm
not going
saying.
back. I'm too old now. That's just-
And I went to the
Yeah.
history and I'm thinking, you need to go to Jerusalem. Anyway, so this goes to the Church of the Nativity. Here is a picture of the Church of the Nativity, the birthplace of Jesus. And this is the door to enter the church.
Yeah.
This is Manger Square. It was built in AD 339 by Helena, the mother of Constantine, and it is the oldest Christian church. The doorway to enter the church is through a very small door, known as the door of humility. Tom, who is there, very tall,
Very, very tall.
is
Almost
bending
6'7".
down to get in there. And it was to prevent animals from going into the church.
Like burros and camels and things
Yes.
like that.
Yeah. So we're in the church now. We're waiting to see the manger where Jesus was born. And this is a grotto of the Nativity. It's the oldest site continuously used for worshiping Christianity. And the grotto is of the Nativity is under the main altar of the church. I'm losing my place.
Did you go to the Shepherd's Field? It's the
Yes,
one
we
you-
did.
Yeah.
And so this is in the grotto of the Nativity. The top picture you see is a picture of Mary and Joseph and the baby. And below is marked as a place of the birth of Jesus. And there's a 14-point star, if you see it on the floor, marked the location of the feeding through trough in which Mary placed the infant. So that was really very special to see that place. And we always hear of them in a stable, but they were in caves.
Yeah.
That whole place is full of stone and many, many caves. And then they kept. So this is the manger where Mary is said to have laid Jesus. And the animals were also in the cave with them. Come on, Finn. Sorry.
I think that's the one you're in right now.
I think, oh, shoot, what happened here?
You told it to go from the beginning, so it went.
Oh, shoot, I'm sorry. No, it
That's
just
okay.
turned into, a slideshow. Isn't this, how do I get this back?
Should be able to just hit escape, I think. Escape key, try that.
Sorry.
And use that slider bar to go down. You might be able to.
See the slider bar on the right of your pictures right up there? Keep going up, the right below,
Straight above
above your arrow, straight above your arrow. There you go. And then you also need to put an X on that box, otherwise it's gonna stay there. See the black box,
Low
low
system.
system resources? The X,
Oh,
just click on that. There you go. There. Oh, wow.
this is, wait a minute, I think I'm a little far down. Okay, so this is where I was.
Yeah, that's what it worked.
And
Ready?
here is angels announcing the shepherd to the shepherds. And this picture was in St. Gabriel Church, which is in Shepherd's Field. I think I'm not managing this.
You might try using the down
Down
arrow
arrow.
instead of the cursor. Try the down arrow.
Yeah, see the arrow right at the corner?
This one here,
Yeah.
okay.
And then you can click on the next slide.
Actually, I
Just
meant
want
you
to
could
put
use the
it down.
down arrow on the keyboard or the page down to go to the
Oh,
next slide.
yes, that's what I should be
That's
doing.
the slide you're on right now. You can tell
Okay,
me
so
there
I'm going to
hasn't
do the down arrow. Thank
been-
you.
There we go.
Here's another manger scene, and this was in Shepherd's Field in St. Gabriel's Church.
That was a really nice little church.
Rejoicing at the news of the birth of Jesus. And what I did for Christmas is I took 2 of those pictures and made some of my Christmas cards.
Oh,
Yes. Now, this is in St. Catherine's Church. And this baby Jesus is carried out every year to put in the manger in the town square in Bethlehem. And they said that that's a good time to go to Bethlehem. It's Christmas because there's joyful, it's just a joyful time to be there.
Did they still have their Christmas decorations up? Because that's what I remember when we went in February in
No.
1998, and they had Christmas decorations up in Bethlehem.
Mm.
I mean, just big hanging signs and things like that. It was
Oh, check this
interesting.
out, Okay, so we're going to go to the life and ministry of Jesus now. And our first stop the next morning was in Capernaum. And this is where Jesus did most of his teachings and miracles during the 3-year ministry of his life. And we had morning prayer there. Now I have a book here in this folder. Everywhere we went, we had a bulletin and we had prayers. We read the scripture pertaining to that spot. Sometimes we sang a hymn and we said prayers. So this was our first morning when we got to Israel, to Galilee. We went to Capernaum, and that we were sitting around on this bench out there doing morning prayer. And this is some ruins of the synagogue in Capernaum. And this white stone, limestone synagogue dates from the 4th to the 5th century AD and consists of 2 main rooms, the primary hall and the prayer hall. And here is a church, a modern Roman Catholic church, which is in the shape of a boat. And it's built over the ruins of where Peter used to live. So the ruins are underneath the church, and you see little rooms there, and they said Peter used to live there.
One of the things they talked about those rooms is that they were like, you could hide if you were hiding from the Romans. The rooms were kind of circular, and you could work your way in and out, so that the Romans couldn't get you.
And in the church, there's a hole in the floor. So you look down into the house.
Yeah. And then we went sailing on the Sea of Galilee in one of these boats.
It's a replica of the 1st century
Yes,
boat.
boat.
Yeah.
And this is Father Todd, and Rania is our guide. She is a Palestinian Christian, and she knows her stuff. Very nice lady. We really loved her. And here is a copy,
Oh, that's lovely.
the boat that we were on. And that tells you about the Sea of Galilee. This inland lake goes by many names, such as Lake of Tiberias, Kinneret, given the harp shape of the Sea of Galilee. It is only 7.5 miles long, 13 miles wide, and has 32 miles of shoreland.
It has its own weather system, even though it's not, it's a pretty big lake. When you think
Yes.
about it.
And the waves can be rough.
Oh, yeah.
If you- We're standing in Galilee, I mean, the waves sometimes are really big, so
Splash.
it's, that's why I think we call it the sea.
Mhm, I think so too.
And then we went to the Church of Multiplication of Loaves and Fishes. This is where Jesus fed the 5,000. There is a church. It's so hard to imagine. You read the story in the Bible that, he was all out here, and now there's a church on top of it. It's hard to visualize what it was like.
Yeah, because it's not only a church on top, it's got
Yeah.
all these walkways and all
And
this
buildings
stuff.
and all that, so, but
Did they
anyway,
take you like to the edge where you could look down the hill and see the place where you could be heard? He could have been heard from one spot down the hill? Did they show
I
you
think
that?
we went down here.
Yeah, because it's sort of like a natural amphitheater.
Yeah.
Yes, and then we went down here. This is right on the Sea of Galilee, and we had Eucharist here. You see that big stone?
Yeah. and
That's the
also-
altar that we use as an altar, and then there are benches around. And so we had communion there one morning. That's us there. That was very meaningful to be just right there doing the Eucharist. Just a picture here of the cross and the Sea of Galilee. And then we went up a little hill, and this is when I noticed that I was having breathing problems. But we went up to the Church of the Primacy of St. Peter. This is where Jesus said to Peter, "Feed my sheep." And so there's a picture of a statue there. And then this is a church right beside that. That's called Church of Peter's Primacy. And then we go to Magdala, which is the home of Mary Magdalene. And this is the outside of a church. And when we enter, we'll see murals depicting Jesus's ministry.
Oh, look. at
That's the church inside, and the altar is the shape of a boat.
Wow.
Yeah.
We did not get to go there.
Oh, okay.
Is that open on the other end?
It's
We're
glass,
at
glass.
I see.
It's a glass.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so you're seeing out. Yeah. And then this is all around the church. Yeah, I mean, the hallway there, here is Jesus is healing Jairus's daughter. There's a picture there. And then this one was Jesus is walking on the water to meet Peter.
There's your rough seas.
Yes. And this is when he's calling fishermen to be his disciples. And this one here is a hemorrhaging woman touching Jesus's garment. You see her hand trying to reach Jesus's garment there to be healed. And then this is interesting. In 2009, they were going to build a hotel right in that spot, and they started to dig. Oops, ruins of a first century synagogue.
All right. Good.
So they had to move the site of the hotel to preserve this.
And that location, they did not know where Magdala was. It was lost until they found started this hotel, and they found where she lived. And that's the city where she's from.
Yeah, because the Sea of Galilee has moved away from Magdala, hasn't it? It's further away.
That I don't know.
Well, it was, because it was apparently on the Sea of Galilee initially, and it's now, I don't remember how many, it's not right there. How neat, that's how they found it.
Yeah. So, yes, Magdala Synagogue where Jesus preached in the first century. And this is a thing I like what this priest it's all around there, you know, telling you about Magdalene, what happened. And he says, this priest says, who says, anyone visiting Magdala will find two types of stone, dead and living. The dead stones are those found in the archaeological park that tell the story of what happened there 2,000 years ago. The living stones are each and every person who visits Magdala. You, our volunteers, and those still to come.
That's really.
Yeah, so that was it. And now we are going up to the Transfiguration, where it was said that Jesus had the Transfiguration, the Basilica of the Transfiguration on Mount Tabor. And let me tell you, the drive up there,
On the edge of.
you're going up like this. Our bus had to stop at the bottom, and we got into another bus because those people now have the provision. Shut your eyes and pray. Because, oh my God, we were going up like this, fast as ever, and I was praying that nobody was going to meet us coming down. But when you got up there, what a beautiful church. And what a beautiful sight. I'll show you that after. But this is the inside, showing the altar. And here is a mural of Jesus and Moses and Elijah, Peter, James, and John. Beautiful. And then they have two chapels to the side inside the church. One is for Moses and one is for Elijah. So they did build tabernacles.
2,000 years later, they
Yeah.
long built tabernacles.
So this is Elijah. And so up
Oh,
there, you see the
wow.
Jezreel Valley from Mount Tabor. It was just beautiful. Talk about a mountaintop experience.
And you know, when the transfiguration happened, and then they say, and then a cloud rolled by,
Mhm.
and everything changed, and they weren't, Moses and Elijah weren't there. And I always said, oh, how convenient a cloud rolled by. But no, of course a cloud rolled by. We were so,
We were high up.
in the clouds,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. And then now we're going up the Mount of Beatitudes.
Oh, I was thinking.
And that's the
That was the
church.
place where I was thinking there's all these paths and stuff. And did they take you so you could hear if that natural? Yeah.
So this is the Church of the Beatitudes, beautiful up there. And now we are in Cana of Galilee. And this is a church, this is us outside the church. And we went inside. And if you look on the altar of the church, you'll see this, those 6.
Things.
Yeah, that's
Sure.
when Jesus turned the water into wine. So that they put that in there, then, yeah. And then there was a little chapel nearby, and we had 2 couples who renewed their wedding vows.
Oh,
So that was neat.
can you see how tall he is?
Yes, Tom is the gentleman. He's at St. Michael and St. George. And he was renewing their wedding vows. That was pretty neat. And then afterwards, walking down the alley, we stopped and got freshly squeezed pomegranate juice. Oh, it was delicious. Toasting the happy couples. And this was an unscheduled stop. We stopped at a Samaritan museum, and the gentleman in the red hat, he is the head of the Samaritan church there, museum there. And he gave us a long talk about how he goes back all the way to Old Testament, his lineage. But it was interesting. That was unscheduled, but we were nearby, so we decided to do that.
Good idea. And you can do that with 10 people. You
Yes,
can't do that
with 40.
29.
Yeah. And here we are at the River Jordan. And none of us really got in, but there is Father Todd helping people if they wanted to put their finger in there. And what I forgot to bring is I have water from the Jordan, I have water from the Sea of Galilee, I have water from the Dead Sea. I took little bottles and had,
And over there, you see in that corner, the people in the white robes. over
yes,
there?
there's another picture that
Oh,
will
okay,
show
yeah,
that.
Okay.
So they go in, oh, sorry, this is looking across at Jordan, right?
Mhm.
And if you go over there, you
You'll be
can't come
arrested.
back. You'll get arrested. So you can just stay on one side and look across. And then here is now up there, you see people in their white gowns, and they go in and they were being baptized.
When we were there, there were two groups of Episcopalians that we were part of, ended up being part of a big tour. And then there was a group of Baptists, and all the Baptists
Went
did
in.
that. And then Liz's sister, Phyllis, renewed her baptismal vows, but she wanted to do it in the river. So she and I went in the river and
Okay,
did that.
okay. Was kind of neat.
It was neat.
So this is just a picture of the depiction of Jesus reading in the temple. And now we are at a Greek Orthodox church. I think you heard about Jacob's Well
This
today.
morning.
Well, this is the entry into the church. It's a Greek Orthodox church. And downstairs, and that is the well. And I asked, is that the well? And they said, yes, that is the well.
And it still has water.
And it's there. So,
Wow.
And we took a ladle and brought some water up, and then tell me what happened when you dropped the water down. Okay, well, it takes about a minute before you hear the splash.
yeah,
That's how
Really?
deep
That's how
it
deep
is.
it is.
It's how deep it is.
yeah. But it was neat to think, oh my gosh, this goes back.
And just one other thing, the priest there, the prior priest was killed by Jewish settlers who didn't want Christians in Israel. And the current priest who did a lot of the iconography inside the church was beaten up 2 weeks before we came, but he was not killed.
Wow.
So religion is really, being a Christian is not such a good thing there. And being Palestinian is not such a good thing. Being Muslim is not such a good thing. So it can be, being Christian really means something,
Yeah.
It really changed how I thought of being Christian.
Yeah. Because you don't get any of that here.
You don't
You're
get
free
that
to-
here.
To worship.
Yeah.
And then we went to this church, Paternoster Church, where Jesus gave the disciples the Lord's Prayer. And around the courtyard, there are several the Lord's Prayer in several different languages, like it was for the Magnificat. And the house of Joseph, where Jesus lived as a child. And there's a picture of Joseph. And then now we go to where we are leading up to Holy Week. This is Bethany, where Jesus stayed with his friends.
Mary, Martha, and
And
Lazarus.
Lazarus, yes, and we'll hear that story in a couple of weeks. And this is a fresco of Palm Sunday, Jesus on the donkey in a church. That's another church there.
Okay, I just want to say one thing. So just to let people know, there are not a lot of palms in Israel. So they were not doing palms. They were leafy olive branches.
Olive branches.
Yeah.
So just so that you know that we call it Palm Sunday because the palms mean royalty, but it was really leafy olive branches. And inside the inside that church, they have a fresco of the leafy olive branches.
Oh, neat.
Okay, then we're going up, and I have a picture, but I couldn't find it of the upper room. And I was really disappointed. I mean, it's just a big empty room. There's nothing in there to say what happened. And that was kind of disappointing.
Is that also some shrine to David as well?
That's downstairs. I think.
Downstairs,
There was,
okay.
I think,
Can you go
David.
back one picture? That road, that's the stairway from the upper room. Okay, sorry. Okay, thank you.
Now we are at the St. Peter Gallicantu. This is a Catholic church, claims to reside where Caiaphas' home once stood, where Jesus was interrogated and Peter denied Jesus 3 times. And you'll see this statue here with the cock up there, and Peter is down here, and the maid, you can't really see it so well, but there is a picture of the maid who was always accusing Peter. I've seen you with him. This was a very moving scene. And then we did another service right here in this courtyard. What's going on here? Why am I not? Oh, I think because
Did you accidentally click somewhere else? You gotta go
You
back.
need to click over here. Yeah. Oh,
well, wait a minute. Yeah.
there you go.
Yeah, click once and then the down arrow should work again.
It's not working. Oh dear.
Okay.
The next one.
Yeah.
Okay.
There.
And now that's the Mount of Olives that we often hear about. And then we walked, the bus dropped us off at the top of the Mount of Olives. And we walked down this very steep road. We stopped at one church. Right?
Yeah,
But I
there
don't
were,
have that
there in
picture.
some places, there were handrails.
Yes.
Because this was really steep. You
Wow.
do not want to trip on that, walking down that hill.
Just roll
Yes.
down
You
it.
just roll down. It was really steep.
And it took some of us a little while to get down there because you really have to watch what you're doing. Because at the end of this it leads right into the Garden of Gethsemane. And that is the oldest olive tree. And it's in the Garden of Gethsemane.
Well, and it's probably is 2,000 years old.
Yeah. So
They say
here is the
that
garden.
The trees, they, you know, when the weather changes or whatever, the trees look like they're dead, but they always come back. So they can live thousands of years.
Yes.
That's one of the things that's so, I guess, vicious about the way in which some of the Israeli settlers have dealt with the olive groves that belong to the Palestinians. Those trees were old and they just cut them down.
Mm. Here is a fresco of Jesus praying in the garden. And, you know, when he said, my Father, if it be possible, let this pass from me. And then there's a church there, it's called Church of All Nations, known as the Basilica of Agony. And that stone is supposed to be where Jesus was. Yeah. And that the windows in this church are dark, it's purple. And the ceiling is black with like stars. But it closes at 12 o'clock and we got there like 5 minutes before, so we didn't have much time to stay there.
It closes at noon.
Yes. There are some places that close and open again later. But it took us a long time to walk down the Mount of Olives, so.
That rail, was it like a crown of thorns? I was trying to, the rail that was just inside the church,
I don't.
maybe not, just kind of looked orange.
We're running behind here now. So here is the most important place that every Christian needs to visit. It's called the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, Church of the Resurrection. And this is where Jesus was crucified. Here is a Greek Orthodox church showing the crucifixion altar right in front of us there. And when you get up to it, you kneel down and there is a hole in the ground and there is a rock underneath. You can see the rock. And that, as I said, is where the cross stood for his
I
crucifixion.
want to say something about the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. There are a lot of Christians, the Catholics, the Armenians,
Mhm.
and
Coptics.
the Coptics. Yeah, there are a lot of
Little
denominations inside the church,
Yeah.
and they don't get along.
chapel.
And so the key has been for centuries in the hands of the
Mhm.
Judas, a Muslim family.
Yes.
And we met Mr. Judah. And he took Betty up to the top of Calvary.
Wow.
He just escorted Betty up to the top of Calvary. He told everybody to get out of the way and took Betty to the stone, and it was just
Wow.
wonderful.
Yeah, it was awesome.
And everybody gets out of the way for him.
Yeah.
And he took us to a room. I was at the tomb, a chapel that nobody gets to visit. It's closed to the public.
Wow.
It was just because we were a group of 10,
Yes, we could do that.
and it was really just special.
Wow.
So here is a picture of Jesus taken down from the cross. That's the same thing there. And they're preparing his body for burial after the crucifixion.
And that stone, that's mosaic stone.
Yeah,
Ooh.
and they're wrapping him in a shroud for burial. And then this is a modern day, the 15th station is resurrection. It's a new cross. And here is Jesus's tomb recently renovated. So in that church is the crucifixion, the burial. And I'm going to kind of hurry us along because we're running out of time. So I'm change of scenery. Food. This is a Zarb method of cooking in this restaurant we went to. So they took us and showed us. And there's a hole in the ground. They put the meat on these wire things, put it in the hole, cover it up, cook it for 2 hours, take it out, and that on the left-hand side was our lunch that day.
Oh, yeah.
It was delicious. And then on the right-hand side, every meal you go to, there are little plates with all sorts of appetizers. Hummus. Oh, I brought all of that.
All right.
Over there.
Send it around.
I wanted you to taste some of this stuff. We had lunch in Galilee and I chose the whole fish and it was delicious. And here is some of the little appetizer plates that we have before each meal. And somebody caught me eating there. And here are some, this is Sarah's tomb. Here is Jacob's tomb. Here is Abraham's tomb.
And this place is the cave of the patriots, and it's the only place, I think it's the only place where there is a Jewish side and a Muslim side together. And you can look across because that's in Hebron.
Yes.
Yes, and so that's a very special place.
And you don't often get to go to Hebron because that's where things happen. And we had to go through guards, but it was safe for us to go at that time. And so we went.
I got in trouble
You got
because
in trouble.
I got in trouble because I was doing a video camera of the guard.
Oh.
You have
oh,
these
you can't do
teenagers
that.
with the machine guns,
Mhm.
you know, for safety. And she said I could not
Oh,
film that, so I got in
that's-
trouble.
Peter Brett.
So I had to stop filming.
And we went to about 3 or 4 orphanages, and what they asked us to do at the beginning, asked us to put about $100 or $200 together. And each orphanage we went to, or each place, charity, we gave them some money. So this was an orphanage where the sister in charge there says, people who don't want their babies, they just come and drop them off at the door. And they take them in and keep them till they're around 18, I think, and then they go off.
I just want to say something.
Okay.
And then this was a nursery that
Yeah.
had,
Cava, which is a sesame seed kind of candy.
Those babies are products of rape or
Yeah,
incest.
yeah,
And the rule is that they have to grow up to be Muslim. They cannot be Christian. So Christians cannot adopt those children. And Palestinian and the Arabs will not adopt those children because of where they came from. So there's just no hope for any of these kids.
kids, yes.
And when they get 18, they're just thrust out into the world with no support system.
Yeah.
Joining
And then we went to St. Luke's Hospital, and this is supported by American Friends of the Episcopal Diocese of Jerusalem. And they gave us a tour of the hospital and all that they do there. We couldn't take pictures inside, but it was very good. And we also left some money with them.
I want to say one
And then
thing too.
another place we went to was,
That hospital looks like an American hospital in 1950.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah. And we went to another one, but I can't find my picture for it, Princess Bosma.
This is for the
And
children,
For the children, and they do, I think I wrote that.
if they have autism or they
Yes.
have disabilities or something.
They
like
take care of them, and they're doing a fantastic job. And then Sunday morning, we went to the church, St. George's College Church. And this is the Archbishop of that whole region, Syria, Lebanon and all of that. And he was in residence that day. So he preached in Aramaic and then in English. And then this is the altar at the St. George's College Cathedral. And they have cushions on the chairs, and they're from all over. And I think we saw one from Missouri. This was outside afterwards. We met with the bishop, Archbishop. And then traveling along, we see this monastery. We didn't go up there though. And what I have, you see this stone desert type, and then there were very lush vegetation. And I couldn't find my pictures.
This is in the wilderness.
Yeah.
When you say Jesus went to the wilderness, this is the wilderness. This is what it looks like.
And here now is where the Dead Sea Scrolls at Qumran National Park were found in these caves. And then we are at the Dead Sea, and there is the mud on the ground, which is full of natural chemicals, and people put it all over their body. And here he is floating in the Dead Sea. Some of our people went floating in the Dead Sea. And before this, we went up the cable car to Masada,
Downstairs.
Yes, yes.
but I didn't have any pictures of that.
This, you can't sink in the Dead Sea because it's so salty.
Salty.
And if you get it in your eyes, it's gonna burn your eyes.
And if
So
you have
gotta
a
be very
cut-
careful.
If you have a cut on you,
Swim with your eyes open, it's really hard.
Yeah.
and you know, it's, and just sign of the times, bullet holes in the gate, you know, where we were on the West Bank. And here we are at the Wailing Wall. We have two sections for the men and for the women. And you go up and you can either, you just touch the wall and say a prayer, or you have little slots that you can put your prayer requests in. And then when you're finished, you have to walk back ways to come out of that area. You can't turn your back to the wall. Where were we?
I don't know where that is.
Okay.
It's cold, I can see that.
Is it in Jerusalem? Is it near the,
I don't- This shows the largest mosaic in Israel. This is a market in Nazareth. So this is the Gloria Hotel that we stayed at in Jerusalem. And I wrote, be warned, anyone who goes on a pilgrimage with the diocese, that if you stay at this hotel, be prepared to walk down and up approximately 80 plus steps every morning and every afternoon to get back to the hotel.
oh my goodness.
Because the bus is parked at the bottom. It cannot come up to the,
Too
through
narrow
the
a
gate.
street, yeah.
Yeah, you can't.
And so you have to walk down. When I saw it, I said, really? But there was another path, like a ramp, and that was easier for me to walk up. So a few of us did that. And eventually Todd spoke to the Emmaus people who did the tour and asked if we could get a golf cart.
Oh, good.
And it met us we walked down in the morning, but in the evening at 5 o'clock, when we got back to the hotel, the golf cart met us and took us up.
Oh, that's
The few of us that couldn't walk. So beware. And this is just some caves in the hillside as we pass along. This is Dome of the Rock, which sits on the Temple Mount. This is where Abraham is supposed to have taken Isaac to be sacrificed, and where Adam and Eve lived in the Garden of Eden.
Did you get to go in?
No, we can't go in.
Okay, because we did,
Oh,
we
we
were
did.
allowed to go in, yeah.
We couldn't go in.
Yeah, we
We
did.
could only go into the mosque in Hebron, Cave of
Yes.
Patriots. We couldn't, you're not allowed to go in there unless you're Muslim.
Okay.
Okay, because they
we
did let us, we had to take
You
the
did?
shoes off, but
We
we got to
did
go in.
Noni and
No,
the
this I
Oscar
did-
Mosque
We
also.
did, yeah, we did too
Oh,
in
good.
98.
Yeah,
We were able to. do
yeah, we had to take our shoes off and
Yeah.
I
Oh,
don't
yeah.
know when to.
And women have to have their.
that.
Heads
Yeah.
covered, yes, we had to
Well,
cover our
you know,
heads.
there was no should about it, it was
Yeah.
required.
It's just a picture of the wall and the
And
twin gates
Like
there.
in Missouri. like-
And those gates have been closed off. So
Yes, you don't, they don't use that anymore. I think that's it. I think that's it.
Oh, you did a
Thank
lovely
you so
job,
much.
Judy.
Well,
I
you're
mean,
welcome.
Thank you for coming.
You're
To be with us.
welcome.
Yeah.
But you know, this whole pilgrimage really changes how you, it's transformative.
Mhm.
And it's just deepened my faith to know that I was here. This is where Jesus was 2,000 years ago. And it's incredible. And when you're reading the stories today and you think, oh my gosh, I was there. You know, you hear the story of Jacob's well, which we'll hear today. Oh, I was there, you know, anybody who can get to go on it, I would say, take the opportunity because it is well worth it and it really deepens your faith. But as I say, go early. Don't wait till you're 80. Because it's a
Well, some
lot
people in here
of
are already in
walking.
that age
It's a
range.
lot of going up,
Yeah.
you know, and it's just a different terrain and everything, and we saw so much more than the glimpse, but this was the meaningful part for me. Jesus's birth and ministry and resurrection. And going into the Holy Sepulchre where it's all supposed to have taken place. Oh my gosh.
There's one place that you didn't show, and it was just, we went to a place called Cephalus, which was once the capital of
Oh,
Galilee.
it's near Nazareth.
Uh,
Yeah.
And that is believed to be the home of Mary's parents. I mean, these are things that you don't learn about necessarily in the Bible, but you know, there's so much
She had to
history
have- she had to
there.
have-
She had to have a parent.
She had to have parents.
And they believe that they live there. And there are ruins there that you can see. And it just brings the Holy Family so much closer to you because you're seeing these things and you can relate to it.
Yeah.
'Cause
And we
all
went to
have
St.
parents.
Anne's Church, she's a mother of Mary. And in that church, there are many tourists, pilgrims, and you get the opportunity to sit down and people can go up and sing something. We were going to sing, but I don't remember what happened.
We went into St. Anne's Church and we had some people.
Yes,
sing.
and they were singing and all that. So,
Because the acoustics are amazing.
yes. So that was a beautiful church, and it's right beside the pool of Bethesda, where Jesus did the miracle.
That was
of
just
this.
amazing.
Yeah,
That was amazing.
and there's just so many pictures to choose from. So this is it.